r/AskWomen. Neensoff says, how important is it for your partner to share your religious beliefs or lack thereof? Genghis Chan says, I was never super religious growing up, but I did believe in God. When I started dating my wife, who is an atheist, it was never a big deal one way or the other for us when we did talk about it, and we were both pretty respectful of one another's beliefs. Over time I sort of lost my faith. I'd consider myself an atheist now. The thing is, my wife never belittled me or tried to change my mind, just shared her own thoughts and allowed me the space to work through those feelings on my own. I don't think I could be with someone who's really intense on their beliefs, be it a Christian who goes to church every week or someone who's intent on proving God doesn't exist. Astruzina says, I'm an atheist and don't know anyone who's in some religion, just some people who believe in esoteric stuff, karma, reincarnation, astrology, angels, etc. And I have to admit it's not very comfortable for me. Being with woman who believes in a god would be very weird for me. But I guess it'd be okay with someone religious if they keep it private, if it won't affect our life in any way, and if they shared my opinions and stances with me. Justice Somian 1410 says, it's important to me, but it's less about the religion itself and more about the morals and values that usually come with it. As an atheist, I wouldn't have a lot of shared values with a hardcore Christian, for example, but I can see it working out with someone who believes in God more casually. Separate Friend says, I don't need someone who shares my beliefs in every respect, but I do need someone who respects them and that I'm a spiritual person. Patient Host 7592 says, as long as they respect my beliefs, it's not a deal breaker. We can have different beliefs and still have a strong relationship. Thefine Liprogramer says, depends if you have kids. If you do, then you will have to decide to teach them or not about it. Or what my parents did is let me decide when I was older. Lift Off the Optimist says, I consider myself to be an atheist, but if my partner isn't, that's okay with me. I only ask that they don't push it on me, otherwise I'm fine with it. Kelowna says, as long they don't try to convert me or others, not looking down on mine or others, then it's okay. I rather think it's about the same values and ethics rather than religion. Awayyard says, agnostic and atheist are similar enough for me to be okay with either. Sakuramachis says, depends. Some beliefs are incompatible. Having similar values and views in life is important, as is being able to understand each other's views where they inevitably differ. For example, I couldn't date a Christian, I couldn't give them and their faith the respect they'd deserve, nor the freedom to speak on something so important to them. I could probably date an atheist as their beliefs are more similar and understandable to me. For reference, I'm agnostic, leaning slightly towards spirituality/paganism. Greech at 7640 says, I'd say fairly. I'm currently a person who has theories of what life could be, but not one belief. I'd say I'm an atheist with questions. I grew up in an extremely abusive religious household and I can't pray or anything as it's triggering and just uncomfortable for me. I could have a different belief to my partner, but I'm not willing to convert to their religion, and, depending on the circumstances, don't think I could have a religious wedding ceremony or anything, if it would come to that. I would love to hear about their beliefs, of course, and have a discussion about them, as I find it really interesting, but that's it really. I'd probably prefer an atheist or someone in a place similar to myself. Alternative C2036 says, absolutely not important, as long as they are respectful of the differences. Alan Fallon says, if we don't share the same faith or beliefs, then what are we even doing together? Lover Bellerman says, when I was 20, it mattered immensely. At 40, it doesn't matter anymore. I want someone who honors me, is interested in what I think and feel, and respects my deepest beliefs. And whom I can do the same for in return. But I don't need our beliefs to be shared. My spouse and I have children together. It has been far more important that we shared certain values in raising them: connection, compassion, kindness, curiosity, humor, etc., than any specific theological or metaphysical doctrines. Exotic Natalia says, I'm atheist. I prefer to not date someone religious. Black Boy Thoughts says, ideally someone with the same beliefs would be great, granted they don't do none of those spiritual stuff. That shit scares the shit out of me. If not, an atheist would be better, because I feel we can get along better. The last thing I would want is a debate on whether Jesus is the Messiah or not. Black Boy Thoughts says, after reading the comments I was just curious, are there any other Christian Redditors out there? Just One Cat says, I'm religious and thought it was very important to marry someone religious. I've been married twice to religious people and it didn't work out. Now I'm with an atheist. Hopefully that will work out. Halo in Reverse says, very important. I'm agnostic and was raised in a very strict cultish religion that took over my life in every way. I was able to get out as a teenager and want nothing to do with religion or anyone that's religious. Caffeine says, I don't think I could be with someone who has any religious affiliation or practice. There are just way too many worldview and belief things that surround religion and the customs thereof that I don't want in my life. Disastrous Airline 28 says, very. I'm an atheist. I can't date someone I don't respect, and I don't respect anyone who believes in religion. I don't want a religious person making decisions for me or my children/pets if I'm incapacitated in some way. Spirituality is cool though. Talk to trees, collect crystals, whatever. I had Tamara Johnston says, not someone who's too religious. You can have some minor religious beliefs like this much, but we should share most of the same worldviews. Religion doesn't make sense to me, and I find it unreasonable and made up. Dogma 814 says, very important. I grew up around lots of Southern Baptists and other various hypocritical evangelicals and I want nothing to do with them now that I'm an adult. Master Try 5369 says, super duper important to me. I'll frick a religious person, but can't date one again. Next Foundation 68 says, it's important to me. I'm a Buddhist and would like a Buddhist partner or even an agnostic partner. Mainly because I've had other religious people such as Christians, Muslims, and Hindus argue that my religion is hippie, not real same thing as their religion, you should revert to the true creator etc. It's exhausting trying to explain my choices. I would rather not deal with all that. Slipslimy Sludge says, I'm Christian but don't really show up for organized religion. It's never been a big deal to me personally, but many of my atheist partners have definitely made me weary about sharing. My GF now doesn't practice, and we've been perfectly fine sharing our spiritual insights and perspectives. Just takes understanding and healthy non-forceful dialogue. I see date 5082 says, very. I could no live with a religious person. r/AskWomen. Friendly Bird 321 says, how much different is your day when you are in love vs when you are not? Hundaduran says, I haven't been single for over 3 years, but from what I can remember it wasn't much different more than that you don't have anyone to text constantly. OK Virus in now says, I'm always in love but with myself. Feels amazing. Heratha Reverie Ware 9 says, everything in the world can be absolute chaos, but my husband is always there, and I just need to get in his arms and everything is okay. Mirasalud says, more anxious GBH. I prefer not to have feelings. Chuckle says, nothing else matters or really negatively affects me when I'm in love. Days go quicker, I sleep easier, always looking forward to the next time I can see her. I get really lonely when I'm not, days drag on, and I spend most nights restlessly yearning for intimacy. Bad things affect me more, and being around my, mostly married, friends makes me feel lonelier a lot of the time. Shuolf91 says, it's a big difference. I was so much happier before I fell in love. Doesn't happen often. But it lasts for long. Now I've been free from it for 3 years. But then I fell for a guy I got to know online and we share things to each other about hard things in life. Turned out we live close and we added on FB. Started to text me on Messenger, and it went frequent more and more. I started to feel something, then he invited me out, and I liked him even better. After that I've just been less happy again. Lack of motivation about everything, and feel that this feelings is some punishment. I just want to burn love in hell. I feel everyone has been lying to me when they ask so eager, how is love, found somebody yet? And always telling me I look so good ANF, so many guys would want me. I don't just want to be a good look. But I really thought this man liked me the same way he texted me and kept the contact. 2 days after the meeting he turned complete quiet. I asked him out 2 weeks after this again. He answered he had a plan, but we can keep in touch, and I heard nothing. It's a punishment, but I don't know what I did wrong. I'm 32 and virgin. He made me feel ready. But when he hurt me like this, he doesn't deserve to know that he made me feel ready either. Dr. Fiank says, kind of depends also on the fact that the relationship is new or not. The honeymoon phase is obviously fun for all, days are poetic. As time fades, love and the relationship tend to take a backseat and becomes more or less one that settles into an equilibrium of peaceful content, in my opinion. Midnight Neurotic says, I seem to be ice cold inside or be unreasonably infatuated. No in between. But one is significantly more precarious than others, since I get zero dopamine otherwise and go insane. I see Teaching 7092 says, knowing I can have feelings again scares the crap out of me, and seeing how to be loved is amazing again. My BF and I have been through a lot, and we've been official for a month now. It's nice to know I have someone, and we are trying to be together. I have not seen him in a week BC I've been sick. I wish he could call me throughout the day, but he's working. It's not an embarrassment anymore. I know he's got my back and is always on my side. This week has been horrible and lonely. I want to have my life back. Mayuko says, I'm smiling a lot more when I am. Sardanesachi says, I don't remember a time before I was with my husband, since we've been together since middle school. To say my life revolves around him is an understatement. Samusin Aim 47 says, so much happier and healthier when in love, whether requited or not, but better when requited. It gives me a purpose and motivation, and if they love me as well it makes me feel like I constantly have someone looking out for me and thinking of me like a guardian angel. And it makes me feel like I'm their guardian angel too, which is also a nice feeling. Pretend Confident 53 says, I think having a partner makes a huge difference to my days. I'm generally more confident now than I was before we got together, although other things have changed in my life too. It enables me to do stuff I wouldn't have done before. But, in terms of routine, it's the exact same. I think the beginning, honeymoon stages of a relationship are the most disruptive to a daily routine. Like you want to spend all your time with the new person, so sometimes that means changing your plans. Sgart Jural says, love keeps me busy, but in a good way. It keeps me thinking of ways I can help, ways I can do better and be better. It has given me hope and dreams. Before finding love I was truly living each day the same. Work, sleep, eat and repeat. Sapfixaint75 says, I'm less anxious when I'm single and can do my own thing. Celestialism says, it's not so much about being in love or not, as it is about having a partner or not. Like, when I was single and in love with a friend of mine who didn't want to date me, that didn't change my daily life all that much, except in that I was thinking about him some of the time and was probably more depressed than I would have otherwise been. But now I'm married and am in love with my spouse, and a lot of the differences in my life between then and now are more about the logistical aspects of having a partner. For instance, there is someone I text throughout every day and talk to almost every night, which was not the case when I was single. My mood/mental health has improved too, but that's a mix of the relationship and my overall personal growth, including having gone to therapy. Vegetable Pollution 2 says, I'm completely preoccupied with my husband of 16 years who I love so much. I think I have really insecure attachment, so I feel completely overwhelmed with love and desire and appreciation for him constantly. I daydream about him non-stop. It's annoying. Alternative C 2036 says, both of them are exactly the same. The only slight difference is when I see something that can make me go, oh, I should send that to them, but that's about all. My daily routine stays the same and doesn't change at all. Otherwise there's a problem for me to work on. Reddead 103 says, I'm happier when I'm in love, if it's mutual, but more peaceful when I'm not in love with anybody. Love consumes time. More so if it's not one-sided, like when you two are dating. Suddenly I text with someone way more than I text anybody. I check social media more often. If they use it too, I spend more time on my looks. I hang out more often. etc. r/AskWomen. Superb Mastodon 7214 says, what's a relationship you had that worked against all odds? Darth Melon Lord says, not a romantic relationship, but me and my best friend. On paper we couldn't be more different. She's disabled, introverted, loves studying and math, and is currently getting her master's in comc. She's a cat person, been dating the same person since high school, very responsible, logical, and careful in everything she does. Meanwhile I'm a party animal, probably tried most drugs under the sun, excluding opiates, pretty spiritual and love dabbling in witchcraft, extroverted, cold and go to college, serial dater and polyamorous, dog person, adventurous and impulsive. We've still been best friends from the moment we met, which was 9 years ago. We've helped and supported each other through some of our darkest times. We are incredibly close and talk for hours almost every single day. I'm her sunshine and she's my rock. It just works. Celestial Nymph says, I was friends with a boy from the age of 5. We were best friends. When we grew up, I had boyfriends. He had girlfriends, but we were absolutely friends. And when he moved to live in another city, I realized that I was more drawn to him than to a friend. When I wrote to him, he said that he had loved me for a long time. We now have the strongest relationship and are getting married soon. Nesao 616 says, was single for 7 years and 100% gave up. 2 days before meeting I told my coworkers my life was meant to be lived alone, and I had made peace with that. Friends always tried to set me up with people over the years and I always said no without thought. 2 days after the conversation with my coworkers I crossed paths with a man at my job I had been at 12 years and had never seen before. Caught my eye, but didn't think about him again after that moment. A week later a friend wants to set me up with someone she just met. She thought of me immediately, said we'd be the perfect match. It was the guy I crossed paths with the week before. I said yes to meet. Turned out we grew up in same zip code, same middle school a year apart, played basketball in high school so were probably in the same building many times before. Went to the same bars in our 20s, same movie theaters, same restaurants, and our families are both from Puerto Rico, not related. It just worked. We get married next week. Princess of Orgasms says, I had a neighbor with whom I didn't get along. Each of our meetings ended in disagreements, but somehow we started cleaning the house together and realized how many common topics we needed to discuss. Then we went for a walk together and it turned out to be very romantic. Now we have 2 children and we love each other. Gossip Boom says, I had a FWB situation in college with a law student my philosophy professor introduced me to. He lived a crazy different life from me. We were both too school focused / jaded to entertain an actual relationship. But when our schedules aligned it was fire. Our personalities clicked well. It was a good 6 months and ended more amicably than any real relationship I've been in. Artemi Ice says, not a romantic one, but me and most of my best friends. They are men and everyone keeps saying how they secretly just want to bang me and they are only waiting for their chance etc. We have all heard it. Still going strong after more than a decade with most of them. We are like family. World Sakayest Monks 3 says, honestly, my marriage. We are the best of friends. I love him more than anything, but I met my husband when I was 18 and he was 21. We had the odds and just life in general stacked against us. I was a freshman in college, he was a senior. He has the same name as my very abusive previous boyfriend. I had only been single about 6 months when I met him, and for the first time in my life since I was 14, also a short stint senior year of high school. I was not looking for anything when I met him the night I did. I'm now 38, about to be 39, and he will be turning 42 this year. That's 20 years we've been together, married for 15. We are grown-ups and different versions of the kids we were when we met. I'm pretty proud of us. It has not been easy, but it's been worth it. My parents were the same, met and married young. They just celebrated their 40th anniversary. My grandparents were married for 70. I hope we continue to grow, thrive and have a lifelong love affair like the couples before us. And if we don't, that's okay too. We have had a beautiful story this far that has resulted in 3 wonderful kids that I know are going to do big things in life. Weenertron says, when I got hired at my last job, I was a very green newbie who was frankly terrible. I had a coworker who had no patience for people who weren't good at their job, and I felt he was very tactless with his feedback. One day, we were forced to work together, and I really wasn't looking forward to it. But that day I found out we were the same kind of nerd. We got all each other's Simpsons references, plus a few other nerdy things. Soon after that, he gave me a box of Homer Simpson Tic Tacs, and I realized that he was trying to be my friend, so I decided to let him. He became one of my favorite coworkers. I also got better at my job, so he had less reason to lose patience with me, plus in retrospect he just didn't have good social skills. He died a couple of years ago. I gave a eulogy at his memorial. I also offered to adopt his cat. I can't stand cats, but grief makes you do things. His ex-girlfriend took the cat, so I didn't have to. Kiss says, the relationship with my brother. We hated each other for most of our lives. He did all kind of wrongs to me and our family. But after so much pain he got psychological help and got better. I forgave him, and we are friends now, and I love him. Onla text says, me and my BFF. He is into rock, tattoos and is the most anarchist lawyer you will find. Yes, I know, raging agnostic, gamer. I'm a Christian who is into tropical music, embroidery, and just the most vanilla woman ever. We have been friends for over 20 years. He wants me to go to kickboxing classes with him. I invite him over to play board games. He takes me to watch weird indie movies. I send her cute memes about baby bears. We adopted each other as siblings in high school. My mom loves him as a son. His stepson is my nephew. He was my best man at my wedding. And we are planning on celebrating our 25 years of friendship next year. Not doing that says, I met my now spouse on the first day I moved into my college dorm. They were there visiting friends. We got together a month later. BC, it turned out we had the same tattoo. I had pink hair, they had blue, so we figured we were soulmates. I had just turned 19, they were 18. Their parents hated me, mine didn't care for them, and none of the siblings were on our side, except one of my younger sisters. So we had that going for us. My now in-laws told my spouse to 1. Break up with me, 2. Only use a cell phone for work/school, 3. Only use a car for work/school, 4. Could only hang out with approved friends. So they moved out and stayed with me in my dorm and lived in their car for a bit until we were able to get a place. All my exes tried to fight them, seriously, 3 of the bastards. My ex-best friend tried to break us up, their best friend broke up with his GF, and she decided she wanted my partner, and then she tried to break us up, telling them I was running around on them during the talking stage, when 1. I wasn't, and 2. She is the one who told me we weren't official, to not let some person hold me back from the college experience. We were dirt poor working minimum wage jobs, living paycheck to paycheck and sometimes not even that. No one thought we would last, but here we are, 18 years later still going strong, both doing extremely well in our fields. r/AskWomen. Dundermiflincia 4321 says, women who have endometriosis, what was your journey to getting diagnosed and treated like? And how do you deal with flare-ups and pain now? Grant Lerbaby says, so when I was 16 I suddenly started to have crazy pain during my periods, went to the doctor, and he told me that's normal, and I should just get pregnant and it'll be better after. And then I went to a different doctor, and he told me it's normal. And then I went to a different doctor, and he told me it's normal. And then I went to a different doctor, and was like, hey, I think I might have endometriosis, because I had since found out about it, and he told me no, that's normal, and am I sure it isn't just anxiety and stress? And then I went to a different doctor, and was like, hey, I think I might have endometriosis, and she was like, yup, that sounds like it could be endometriosis, gave me a transfer to the nearest endometriosis center, where they did a laparoscopy not 2 weeks later, and surprise surprise it was indeed endometriosis. I was 24 then. It was so, frick, I'm crazy. And like I have a ton of chronic health issues, and with nothing else did I have any issues like that. Headaches? I'm in a CAT scan a week later. Stomach issues? Can't wait to stick a camera in there. Thyroid issues? Medication and nuclear diagnostic stuff within like a month. Heart issues? Immediately doing all sort of test. Knee issues? Transferred to a specialty clinic within 2 weeks. But suddenly when it's concerning my uterus I'm being treated like a little child who pretends to have the sniffles, so they don't have to go to school. And 4 years. Still makes me so, frick, I'm mad just thinking about it. Wrestling woman says, I never saw a doctor about my pain. I had a sick day each month when my period started because it hurt so much, and my mother told me that periods hurt that bad. It has since made me think that she probably has it too without knowing, so she could only tell me that pain is normal since she was in pain too. My friend also always had pain that was really bad. She has since been diagnosed with endo too and has had surgery to have it removed. So you see, 2 people around me being in the same pain as me made me think that pain during periods was normal. In 2016 I decided to have my tubes tied, since I never wanted children, and I was tired of spending money on birth control. Sterilization is free in my country. During that surgery they discovered endo, and it finally explained all that pain I was in, and that it wasn't normal. This was the reason I chose to have a hysterectomy in 2022. No more periods, and it has gotten so much better pain-wise. No longer do I lie curled up in extreme pain for hours on end. I still get pain, but now it's a quick pinch, and then I move on with whatever I was doing. Wooler Mammoth 45 says, it took me 32 years to get diagnosed. I had to find a specialist myself and force my regular gyn to give a referral. It's been 3 decades of pain and suffering. However, my specialist has been perfect. He did my lap surgery in December and I feel so much better. I'm on medication, doing pelvic floor therapy, and doing part at home daily, and it's been life-changing. I still follow a strict anti-inflammatory diet, which has helped me a lot. Not doing that says, no one figured it out until I tried to get pregnant. By then I was at the organ fusing stage, so I was early 30s. That and some other health issues, and I was told by the top specialist in my state I'd never get pregnant naturally, even after she went in and removed as much as she could. Imagine my surprise when 4 months later I had a positive pregnancy test. Anyway, I can't do hormonal birth control BC, it gives me blood clots and part of my left lung died BC of those little bastards. I'm on a copper IUD, which despite the fact it's made my periods regular I love. I take NAC daily, and I don't know what magic it does, but I no longer have cramps. Like in the past. Point 2. Yes. I've had one period where the cramps were severe enough I took Tylenol. Highly recommend. Stage mega organ, and I had 0 cramps BC of that shit. Pink Pixie says, my periods were very painful from the start. There was also always heavy bleeding. My mother said that's just the way it was. For me it's heavy bleeding for the first 3 days. Extreme pain like food poisoning, or just this extra painful weight in the lower half of my body. Insomnia. Mind fog. Extreme fatigue. Pain during ovulation. Migraine. Nausea. Bloating. Pain when I take a piss. I think the endo tissue spans up my back. I went to a urologist and he said it was my endo that made it feel like I had a kidney infection. WTF, I take 800 mg ibuprofen and Flexeril muscle relaxers for it, and then the occasional Excedrin extra strength. I have a doc's note for work and can miss up to 3 days a month for my flare-ups. My obgyn said she'd like to do a laparoscopy, but I'm too chicken shit to go through with it. Birth control always made me cry uncontrollably. Waiting for nothing says, I had an ovarian cyst burst in 2012, and it was causing hemorrhaging. During the surgery they found all the endo. They diagnosed it right then. I have all the internal pictures, but my doctors today still don't believe me and say to take a hot bath. Particular Rarely 958 says, 4 years I wasn't taken serious. Now I'm trying to work up the nerve to get checked out. I'm 40 and my periods are heavy. So heavy I bleed through tampons and pads every 3 hours. It makes me faint. It is painful, but at this point it's the fainting and being bedridden for 4 days a month that is making me look into it more. Family history of fibroids, cysts, and endo. Punicoctus says, I'm starting to suspect I might have it, and the journey was I thought this was normal until my doctor told me it wasn't normal, having to take 1600 mg ibuprofen to get through the worst day. I don't however have visible endometriosis. I know you can only know via laparoscopy, but maybe some have it so bad you can see it on an ultrasound? She gave me pills that help with endometriosis pain, told me I don't have a visible one though. The pills help loads, but honestly I'm not sure if this is something I need to pursue further. Possibly when I go back in for a regular checkup. Other symptoms include really bad PMS, starting to have spotting while ovulating. It's new. I'm 32 now and never had that before. The cycle is a mess, anywhere between 30 and 50 days. Last time it was 67. I have microcystic ovaries too, that has always been considered the culprit. I never thought that I should even consider the possibility of endometriosis because I hear it's nausea, throwing up, gases, and insufferable pain. I don't know what's considered insufferable. Want Chocolate says, I had always had very painful periods. To the point that pain meds stopped working for me. I found out I had fibroids when I got pregnant with my daughter. When I was 36 I had fibroid clusters that started causing me immense pain. After 2 months of trying to get doctors to actually do something, I was able to get a hysterectomy. It was after that I found out I also had endometriosis. I was treated like I was making up my pain my whole life. I was practically dying in the various doctors' offices while trying to get someone to do something. And I felt very justified when I was right about all of my issues once it was all said and done. But the way I was treated when it came to my reproductive issues has made me cut a lot of people out of my life. I live at 90s for real says, the journey was way too long for a diagnosis. I've been in excruciating pain for almost 2 decades before someone suggested I have an endoscopy. Ended up with a total hysterectomy. r/AskWomen. Stuck in Mimetrix says, how do you organize your tasks? What apps or strategies do you use to stay on top of it all? I understand the implied sexism of asking this in AskWomen, but I want the women perspective, and I do think that we, unfairly, handle a lot of tasks. Nightchaser89 says, Todoist app. Krasinakosima says, I put things in Google Keeps if I'm out. Otherwise everything goes in my bullet journal. I also have a separate planner for work. I just do better with writing things down. Dew Entertainment 44 says, I put important tasks on my phone calendar. Everything else will get done if I remember to do it. And GF Leaks says, Trello. Dorosaurus says, at work I write out a list of everything that I need to do that day and assign priority to each thing. At home, I don't really organize cleaning type tasks in any way. I just do things as I think of them. Like, oh, my laundry basket is kinda full, guess I should do a load. Or there's a lot of cat food on the floor, maybe I should sweep. There's a dry erase board on the fridge where I write down grocery list and more long-term things, like when to change the AC filter. Appointments go in the calendar app. Pashola Vegeral 4215 says, I have an iPhone, and I use the Reminders app quite frequently. It's helpful to get alerts for meetings or just overall reminders of things I need to do once I get home around the house. I also send emails to my work email if I'm at home I need to remember to do something at work for the next day. Otherwise I have a paper calendar at work I write stuff down on. I never got into using the calendar on my phone, which is weird because I'm a millennial. I kinda wish I did use it on my phone because I'd have access to it at all times then. Sometimes I have to wait until I go into work to check dates. At work, I write lists on post-its and stick them to my desk. I use the Notes app on my phone to keep track of grocery lists or other random lists of restaurants I want to try, etc. Latina Farxiraxi says, most tasks are added to reminders in my phone. Appointments are added to calendar. Very helpful. Stulatahara 23 says, for work, I use Outlook for meetings, a handwritten to-do list for the day, and a spreadsheet of all pending cases/tasks. For personal, I have a Word document year-long upcoming events calendar, a list of errands to do and goals, and I do a daily handwritten to-do list. My husband and daughter and I exchange calendars on Sundays to copy for the week. I recently created a to-do list, printed and laminated it, so he can use a white erase marker daily for my younger son who is organizationally challenged that includes morning/evening routine, chores, and goals. He loves it. Thibana Slopes says, calendar app with color coding. I enter a clear task title and use the description to store links, materials, reminders, or other details. I also have the calendar app as a larger widget on my phone's home screen, so I can see that outlay easily and quickly. Understanding No 4851 says. Notion, it's 3 for an individual act. Strangers with Andy says. I'm a notebook baddie. I have to write it down, or I will forget, and there's something about the kinesthetic task of my hand moving around the letters that makes it possible for my brain to remember and do the task. If I try typing it on my phone, it's useless. Jigglebox06 says. I'm a good old-fashioned list maker. I bought a daily planner where each day is a full page. I start my day by making a list, and through the day I add to it. I also immediately add dates in the future, like appointments, bill due dates, upcoming jobs. It's very handy to be see I can look back and find exactly when I wrote something. This may sound silly, but if I have a longer list of errands for a day, I'll write them on a sticky note and stick it to my shirt, obviously stash in the purse, or on the car, dash when I'm public. My grandmother did it, my mom and sister do it. It works for us. Stay Curious says. For home stuff, I use a mixture of my calendar app for appointments/plans and always set reminders. My reminders app, for those you need to do this at some point in X amount of time and you'll forget otherwise, and the Microsoft To-Do app, lists. Work is a freaky mixture of using my email inbox and flagging/filing, using Slack reminders, and also a written to-do list. Edited to add I also use on a note both personally and professionally. Personal for planning, like currently wedding planning, and work for notes. Artemi Ice says. I don't really use any apps, I know what things need to be done by when. During exam periods I make a calendar where I note what subjects I will be studying sufficiently before and during the exams as to not get lost, but this is the only thing I use for organization I can think of. Plathina says. I have a spiral notebook that I use, a whiteboard, and post-it notes. A little old school, but it works for me. Plus a wall calendar. All the names suck says. Admittedly I don't have a ton of tasks, but I use a Google Keep list for my longer to-do list, including any subtasks that need to be done. Appointments are on a shared Google Calendar with the husband. I did try a few other apps out, but they were just more involved than what I need for managing household tasks and projects. Winner not Bacorsia from says. For work the task list in Outlook and a planner for at home. Princess of Orgasms says. I rely on a combination of digital tools like Todoist to track tasks. Prioritizing and breaking tasks down into manageable chunks helps me stay organized and focused. Danivel says. Mondays and Thursdays are my big cleaning days, sweep, vacuum, and mop. Fold laundry. Dust/bathrooms on Tuesday and Friday. Wednesdays are errands. Saturday is whatever needs picked up/bed. Sundays are off. Zebra Puzzle says. Google Tasks. Elikath says. Mostly on my Google Calendar. I set the weekly and monthly widget on my phone for easy checking. Organized with color coded. For important meetings or tasks I set the reminder more than once, like a day before or the night before, to stay well prepared. I also set an alarm on 7 PM to remind me to check for upcoming tasks and stay on track. Celestial Nymph says. I find it helpful to break down larger tasks into smaller, manageable steps. This way, I can consistently make progress and feel a sense of accomplishment as I check off each item on my to-do list. Larkfuss says. I have a cozy desk area in my bedroom that is more for household tasks than job work area, which is in a different room. I leave things on it at night, so I remember them in the morning. Clothes for tomorrow, of allies if I'm preparing for a trip, a grocery list, a custom-made coin I have to remind me to do banking, a wedding invitation, if I need to RSVP, a decorative bowl filled with laundry pods which make the room smell fresh and remind me to do laundry, and reference books I use for my work, to remind me about a deadline. When I wake up the next day, I move them into my home office space. I do not use apps to track these, because if I leave my phone at home for the day, or if I have to replace it suddenly, then suddenly those notes are gone. And I don't like organizing thoughts online. It doesn't jog my memory as strongly, plus I like to limit the number of apps on my phone in general. r/AskWomen. Nephews says, how often as a woman do you babysit your nieces and nephews vs the men in your family? Princess Bindy says, the men in my family are very immature and impulsive. I refuse to babysit them anymore. Pumpkin Pia Screech says, never. I did once, but they aren't local now. Also, I never ask anyone to babysit for us. Damn Good Marmalade says, never and never. Husband and I are child free, and that includes not being babysitters. Nevertrally says, I haven't lived close to my extended family in many years, so I did not babysit my nibblings. As far as I know, their babysitters were generally other female family members, common cultural expectation, but male family members also did babysitting for them when needed. C Red Scallops says, never and never. My nieces and nephews are adults. My partner has a young nephew, but we don't live close to them, so neither of us has ever watched him. Alfreda Queen 88 says, me. Never. Absolutely not. My husband every once in a while. Winterning says, never. Duca Silver Placia says, never. My brother and Sil never ask, but I offer semi-frequently to pick my niece up and hang out with her. My youngest brother did a lot more babysitting when she was younger because he loves kids and he lived closer. My husband was also really interactive with his nieces and one nephew when they were younger, but that was before we met, so I'm not sure if he ever babysat or just went over and hung out with the whole family. SR4F says, I never had siblings, but I had plenty of cousins. The first time someone gave me a baby to hold, I was 10 or so. I dropped it. The parent was just there, of course, and caught the kiddo. I didn't randomly drop an infant. I'm not a monster. But it did convey the message loud and clear that babysitting was not a thing people should expect me to do. My same age cousin, on the other hand, always seemed happy to do that, so that's where the older cousins went for babysitting purposes. Laville Tiger says, TBH, I hate babysitting and can't handle small children alone. My siblings know this and don't often ask me to babysit. Usually it's my grandma or mom and dad. Occasionally it's my brother, even though he has a kid too. Middle Juice 6589 says, as the oldest daughter I babysit my nieces. My brother did not. Sonia Begonia says, never. I have a deal with my sister that I'm not to be put in charge of the children on my own. Orba says, my answer is I never babysit, but my youngest brother is great at it. Well, all my brothers are good at it and have done many hours of babysitting nibblings in almost 3 decades. But the youngest really has a knack for it, no matter the kids' ages. On the other hand, my husband used to volunteer for babysitting duties of his nibblings. Me, being a teacher, would pack our kids up and send them on their way to my in-laws' house, so I would also get a free evening in my own home. I said Tobafamus 1892 says, never, but also compared to never. Crevicer Dunips says, men should not require babysitting. Prestigious Row 3244 says, I never do. And I'm the only sibling to my sister. My mom watches him a lot though. Pancake Queen 13 says, never. I'm notoriously known as being child free in my family. I have babysat my niece a few times when she was a baby, but not since my sister had 4 kids. It seems to be known that I can't handle a lot of kids at one time, even though I've never outright said it. On text says, it honestly depends on who is available. Men would probably load the kids in the car and take them somewhere. Kids will be back knowing how to change oil or something like that. I would make the kids help with the chores. Kids will be fed and educated either way. Mumbob says, I have one sister and she has no kids. Only cousins who have kids live far away, so I have no responsibilities in that area. My cousins are either great men or chose great men, so their relationships have equal effort put into childcare. UACE 246 says, hardly at all, but I also don't live near family members that have young children, so asking me wouldn't really make sense. Darkest of Flames says, never. I'm the last person anyone who knows me would ask to babysit. Ghostness Ways says, I have done it a handful of times and each time my husband has complained about it, I say I'll do it by myself then, but no, he'll still come with me and sit there complaining about it. He would only ever offer to babysit one out of our 9 nieces and nephews who is his absolute favorite. Mekiaka says, I've never had anyone ask me to babysit their children. Tawny She-Wolf says, I'm blessed with being an only child and thus do not have this problem. Even if I did, I wouldn't babysit. I'm child free, so I'm not willing to encumber myself with the blessings of other people. My boyfriend is in the same boat and lives half the world away from his single toddler nephew. Now cat or dog sitting that we can talk about. Spiritual Winner 503 says, I thought I would all of the time. Not once and they're almost 4. Gloomy Tangerine 3123 says, I rarely babysit for my nephew. Many PPL women 0 were around to take care of him when he was a baby. People do try to saddle with babysitting duties as I'm WFH, but I make it very clear that I don't have time for it because I don't. I've often seen women in my extended family taking care of their young nieces and nephews, but once the kids are able to walk and run, it is mostly young men in the family who take care of them, taking them out to play, to move as etc, but helping in schoolwork often falls on the women's shoulders. Zistina Genderqueer says, I don't have any nieces or nephews or a significant other lol. But I do watch a lot of my other child-free friends' pets. Pineapple 1347 says, I don't live close enough to my family to babysit my niece or my cousin's kids. But I know my cousins watch each other's kids all the time, both men and women. Fresh Tit Milk says, when my brother and his family lived in the same house as me, I watched 2 of the kids for about 30 minutes one time. Other than that, never. They now live far from me and everyone knows I have no experience with kids and I don't want any. Mamisu says, my nephew lives many miles away from his mum, my sister, so it's usually me who babysits my niece, adult, disabled. But now, if it's just an appointment my sis needs to do, then her husband watches her. He can't do any personal care, but he can make sure he's there in case my niece falls or anything. But the question you ask is very good. It's standard for the women to attend a family function and be surrounded by any kids, whilst the men are off watching the footy or micromanaging a burger on a grill. r/AskWomen. Inida Glow Up 2021 says, what are your fashion tips that helps everyone? Legged Blondo C says, baggy clothes make you look bigger. Afamalagoverna says, figure out your color palette and wear colors that suit your skin tone, hair color and eye color. I don't have links to resources, but there are posts on Insta and YouTube that can help you figure out what suits you. I'm not saying only exclusively wear those colors from whichever palette you get matched with, especially if you have specific colors that you just love to wear because you like the color, but I noticed that I personally got a lot more compliments, looked less tired, and more put together when I started wearing colors that were in my palette. Ilbite6864 says, matching. Totalina Trebelscom says, do not match the exact color, shade, tone of your socks with your top, unless it's black. It usually looks awkward. Sodakan says, request tips for making my neck look longer. I struggle a lot with unflattering accessories, and I could use clothes advice too. Top Blueberry 6665 says, find your colors. Significant Cell 6334 says, to choose 3 colors for an outfit. If you're not confident in your fashion senses, that'll make it enough eye-catchy and not too much. Your mom's apron says, get a great tailor and mend your clothes / alter them at the time of purchase and to fit you as your body changes over time. And learn to read garment tags. Proper maintenance will extend the life of your favorite items. Klabayal says, color blocking and wear clothes that are comfortable. Don't sacrifice comfort for fashion. Logical Cranberry 714 says, have some clothes you can dress up or dress down. This is my whole wardrobe, but it makes it very easy. Binktapayori says, if you want a simple wardrobe that matches, try shopping within a color scheme. Pick some neutral colors and some colors you really like, and only shop clothes that are within that range. This way, you can always style pieces with one another. Plathina says, only get what suits you, and you feel comfortable and happy in. Mix and match, and complement with outrageous accessories that create your own unique style. Glasso says, lint roller, garment shaver, cutting loose threads, washing and caring for them properly. It can extend the life of your clothing. Coffee and Snacks says, find what colors suit you best. Don't follow macro trends just because they are trendy, but rather invest in timeless / statement pieces or something that makes you truly happy and confident. Pieces worth investing in, good quality shoes, bags, coats, leather jacket, because those things could last 2 years or even decades. Always wear a belt with jeans or pants, especially if the belt loops are showing. Oh, and also, don't forget to show a bit of your personality through your style. That's what makes fashion fun, emo. Kashian says, it's amazing how much a difference having properly tailored and laundered clothes makes. Pants the right length, steamed shirts, sweaters without pills. G1 Ashalful says, learn your body type and dress for your body type. This has been a game changer for me. Hollow 4004 says, not a fashion person, but black pants has solved all of my problems. Krazai Irina says, set out and prepare your clothes the night before. Every minute saved is another minute in bed. If you wear blazer all day, save time / be lazy by ironing only the front and collar of your shirt. Pantyhose / tights, pick one size up from recommended. They last longer and are more comfortable. Rosie Stinky 9 says, French tuck your oversized t-shirt into your lazy day sweat pants to look more chic. Admore 6146 says, have good quality undergarments. A good bra and shapewear can make an outfit look drastically different. Nikaya X says, find clothes that are comfortable but look professional. I don't even participate in jeans days anymore because my dress pants are actually yoga pants. Tsubox07 says, don't wear high-end brands with big logos. Opt for custom-made universal designs. Gives more of an old money vibe. Also, avoid the trends with catchphrases like juicy or babe written on it. It looks cheap. Stumpicita says, don't squeeze your feet into shoes that are too tight or narrow. It's not worth the bunions that will eventually develop. A Considered Life says, wear what makes you happy. Pay attention to what you feel about an outfit and why you feel that way about it. Identifying the specific reason why an outfit makes you feel good, color, fit, style, or bad, uncomfortable, Fussy, not you, will help you better understand and recognize your personal style. Spareskill8101 says, always wear well-fitted and wrinkle-free clothes. This makes you well put together, effortless. Freethinker Forever says, wear your actual size, vs the size you want to be. We look instantly better in clothes that fit. They frame our figures best. The Girl Ross says, don't follow trends. Follow your body. Regular Classroom 20 says, experiment with different styles to see how they visually change your proportions. Low vs medium vs high rises for bottoms, shirts of varying lengths and cuts, low top shoes vs ankle boots of varying heights, etc. When you find something you like, take note of its measurements and other details so you can understand what you like about it. For example, through doing this, I've learned that shirts that are too long draw the eye toward the widest part of my thighs and make them look bigger. Low-rise pants are the most flattering with my long legs and short torso. Crew-neck shirts make me look broader, and wider toe boots make my thick ankles and calves look slimmer. Things like that. It saves a lot of time shopping because you'll know what styles you like and which ones are a waste of time. And you can get a sense of how something will look based on its measurements. Great for online shopping. Jigglebox06 says, dress for your fit, not the size on a tag. Purplebudfish says, invest in good bras and good shoes. Your back will thank you. See Red Scallops says, dress to impress your inner toddler. Princess of Orgasms says, wear what makes you feel confident and comfortable. Big Lake Moni says, don't buy clothing for a size you plan to be. r/AskWomen. Accomplished Egg 1234 says, what is your average screen time per day? Madisable says, half an hour total at the moment. I'd say for the last few weeks. I'm enjoying being really present, journaling and reading books, talking to my love, lying in the sun and just drinking tea in my room. Bless says, about 5 hours a day. But almost 2 hours is my Google Maps /satnav when driving. Finis just says, 9 to 11. Starberry 4050 says, 11 hours apparently, a 179% increase from last week. I've just been bored this week and talking to one guy mostly. I also read on my phone to start my mornings. Unedited Reddited says, less than 2 hours. Coffin Cultural says, it varies from week to week. In the past week I've averaged at 6.5 hours. I am Nat Absalom says, according to my iPhone around 3 to 4 hours. Edit to add, I'm a primary school teacher and I'm using a computer for work/studying. Ed say another 4 hours. So most of my day is screen time. Laura 1644 says, 4 to 5 hours, maybe more if I watch my shows on my phone. Net Illustrious says, usually 4.5 hours. Trying to cut back. I also work in front of a computer screen 8 hours a day. I'm sure my brain is fried. God Empress says, about 10 hours. Monster Bandit says, months it would be around 14 or so hours because I have an office job, plus I would then use my phone and also watch TV in the evening. For phone use though my screen time says an average of 4 hours a day. Today's was 5h42 meters, which I'm not too happy about. Reddit has done it to me. Haley 2 says, like 5. High Loaf says, 3 hours. Free Birdbus says, 2.5 hours ish. Cheesy Water 06 says, phone screen time about 4.5 hours, but I work on a computer for 8 hours a day, so total screen time is roughly 12 hours. My eyes are constantly tired lol. Popular Confusion 77 says 10. Zlodivan Trampks says 4 hours. Thought it'd be more. Junoin Bloom 91 says 14 hours. Ident that says, well, I'm probably using my work computer about 3 hours a day, adding up my phone use, Reddit, texting mainly, and probably a couple hours there. Maybe 3. Then, about an hour or 2 of TV at night. So, approximately 8 hours. Some days, almost none, some days a lot more. But 8 is probably about average. Bubble Sand Sandoon says 8 hours. Danivel says, right now, a lot higher than usual. Husband just recovering from surgery and has those thing zombies on the TV all day. I put on Cold Case or Hysteria and large over-the-ear headphones, so I do not have to listen or see them thing zombies. Powerful Vanilla 2548 says 9 hours on laptop for work, 4 hours on phone. External example 292 says too much. If I'm not on the PC/laptop, I'm on the phone Redditing. Effective Bug says most people spend more time scrolling through their phone each week than they do clocked into their 40 hours a week jobs. Top Blueberry 6665 says I don't check for a reason. Planting Pigeon says usually 4-5h. Mind you, my work requires me to use my phone to test projects. Cooper Becker says 5 hours. Finer 512 says 3 hours. Too much. Life Uncommon says 10 plus hours. But I like to fall asleep watching YouTube videos and those just play all night, I guess. It's not like I'm looking forward my phone for 10 hours. Lol. Struck Biffires says I work from home and am in school full time. I also read before bed on my Kindle. And I check out my emails, Reddit, etc. on breaks. It's at least 12 hours a day looking at a computer, the phone, or my Kindle. So in the summers I try to make sure I'm outdoors a lot to get a break. Illustrious Dr. 12 says can't count. Alternative C2036 says well, my phone is saying that I've spent 5 hours on it today lol, otherwise weekly it's maximum 11 hours. This is way too much, I'm gonna go cry. Sheasaurus says 4 hours. Notorious AKP says 6 to 8 hours depending on the week. Every so often 9.5. Deleted says around 4 hours. I'm on my phone too damn much plus 8 hours screen time for work. Alice Uarielmud says 8h for work, then depending on the day, but usually another 8h for myself. Stark says most of my waking hours are at a screen. I have an office job, so 8 hours a day at the computer. I work out at home with video tutorials. I play video games, watch TV, and use my phone a lot. Brunetta Skeleton says probably like 16ish hours. I always have something playing on my TV or computer in the background during the day, and I can't fall asleep at night without listening to like an asthma video or something. Impossible Bat 90 says too much. If it's not on the laptop with work, it's the phone with more work or something. I'm stuck to the frick end screen. Sad Sledgermain says probably 10 to 12 while I'm awake, but I also keep my PC monitor on and facing the bed during the 8 hours I sleep, so including that it's like 20 lol. MM9931 says 7 hours. Icy Peach 9128 says 4 to 5 hours. Sea Red Scallops says like 12 or 14 hours. For at least 8 hours, I have 2 screens going at once. Drunk Enknita says I stare at screens/monitors about 9 hours a day for work. I exercise in the mornings, so that's about an hour, watching something while working out and or yautubing yoga. Sometimes watching something after work, so maybe an hour or two. Reading on my Kindle, yep, another screen, for an hour or two a night. Occasionally I'll get sucked into TikTok for an hour. So, yeah, that's probably 12 to 14 hours a day, if we are including work and reading on a Kindle. Celestial Nymph says, most at night about 4 to 5 hours. Marco 938 says, about 12, 14 hours daily. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.